Welcome back. It's the Big Blue Banter New York Giants football podcast. I'm Dan Schneier, joined as always my co-host Nick Filato. Today we are here to break down the Giants' all-22 film on the offensive side of the ball in their Week 5 loss against the New Orleans Saints. We'll break down Jaxson Dart on tape. We'll break down this offensive line, both pass protection and run game, the scheme, what we thought we saw, what we ended up seeing, and ultimately some of the factors that led to the Giants losing this football game. I would say this, Nick. First question I have for you is, did you kind of feel from watching the tape that the Giants absolutely outplayed the Saints and still lost this football game just as we expected?
Yes, that's on both sides of the football, too. Now, I'll say this with the defense. We'll talk about that a lot more in the defensive podcast. Spencer Rattler and Kellen Moore designed a very efficient, rhythmic passing attack that negated the Giants' pass rush. But overall, I did not come away from that tape being like, well, the Giants' defense they gave up some plays in some key situations, of course. But this was just one of those games, man, where the Giants had it in their hands. And like I said on yesterday's show, it was a solid that just morphed and transmuted into a liquid, and it just slipped through their freaking grimy little fingers, and they just allowed the loss to manifest. And it's frustrating because the Giants are a football team who we say, oh, they should beat the Saints. It's like, well, why do we think that? Because they continuously do like this time and time again. And I shouldn't cuss because I spent like 15 minutes editing last night's show, putting in beeps.
People love those beeps, by the way. I got like 3 comments from my friends. Like, I think the beeps are the funniest thing in the world.
So, I know, I want to change up the beep.
Great job by you.
Thank you. So, I appreciate that. But overall, the Giants offense, they were moving the football against the Saints defense. It's not like they were inept. It was the mistakes. It was the fumbles. It was the miscues. On the defensive side, it was the pass interference. It was the undisciplined play. And the fumbles themselves, that's not necessarily a reflection of coaching. But when you just couple all of this together, when you just aggregate all of the dysfunction with the New York Giants, it all does lie at the feet of Brian Daboll and this coaching staff. But there were opportunities in this game for this offense to do things, and the execution on the young players that the New York Giants have on this roster, they failed. And their veteran players, guys like Darius Slayton. That drop was devastating, man. The Giants were cooking at that point. That drop was devastating. And then obviously the fumble, that was a 2-minute drill. Those are game swaying type of plays that the veteran receiver, Darius Slayton, who everybody in this locker room was looking up to, he could not come up with. And he's the first person to say that and own that. And I'm not trying to kick him while he is down. I do have a lot of respect for Darius Slayton, but you can't have those types of situations and win football games on the road against anybody. And even against an 0-10 starter like Spencer Rattler.
0-10 starter, though, obviously, I think we would both agree he played a lot better than his reputation in this game. Even the busted coverage or whatever you want to call it, the bad play call against Rashid Shaheed, like that was a dime of a throw.
I wouldn't say it's a bad play call. That's bad leverage by Tyler.
Bad leverage by Tyler Nubin. That was a dime of a throw. I mean, there was some pressure there. He literally ripped that ball and almost walked it to a receiver 55 air yards down the field. Thought he was pretty accurate throughout the entire game. And like you said, got the ball out quick. We'll talk about that on the next show, though. There's a lot to talk about from that regard. As far as the Giants offense goes, some of the takeaways I had, Nick, were finally saw a little bit of what I expected to see with the rookie quarterback. A lot of field side open. A lot of times I thought there was a lot of space in the field side for the Giants receivers. The Saints would allocate way more defenders to the play side. And I didn't really think Jaxson Dart looked to the field side that often. I thought there were multiple times he could have hit players on the field side. Just was never really looking there. He's got, it's a rookie quarterback, so he's going to obviously improve on that. But that was the game plan. They left a lot of it open. I also thought a lot of what the Saints did was smart, which is take away something they at least saw on the tape of Jaxson Dart, maybe from last game and maybe from his college tape. He likes to go downfield. He likes to attack deep. And there were a lot of times where the best option, because of what the Saints were doing on defense, was to get to that check down. And he just wasn't fast to get to that check down. And there were 1st and 10s, 2nd and 10s, where if he gets to that check down, there's a lot of space for the back or for the receiver. And those could be 8-yard plays, 9-yard plays, help the offense moving.
And that's something that Jaxson Dart needs to work on, obviously. It's something that I think we both respect about Dart, that he is looking for that big play, but you need to be smart and wise and judicious with looking for the big play. And if it's not there, just take the check down. Something Russell Wilson was very good at, something Daniel Jones was good at. And Daniel Jones was a little reluctant to pull the trigger, as we always say. Jaxson Dart, he's trying to figure out, do I have it? Should I throw the ball? When at times it's like, you just need to get rid of the football. If Darius Slayton is chilling in the slot to the field or chilling outside in the flat by himself with like 12 to 15 yards of separation because everybody sunk to remove the corner route on the smash concept.
Which is what they kept doing. They just kept sinking to remove those routes.
Yes, and the Giants, they kept trying to, I shouldn't say they kept trying to. They only took, I think, the shot maybe once or twice. But how many times did they send Darius Slayton or Jalen Hyatt deep post to try to split the safeties? There was one that wasn't a post. It was a seam by Jalen Hyatt. It was a cover 2 defense. It was similar to what we saw against Matt Eberflus in week 2 with the Dallas Cowboys, where Wan'Dale Robinson scored on that deep touchdown. The safety split. And initially, Hyatt had a lot of space, but by the time I think Dart even realized it, if Dart realized it, it was too late, and the safety flipped his hips and started facing Jalen Hyatt. So that could have been a big opportunity if it was noticed initially. Now, I don't think it was the first read in the progression, and that's probably the problem here.
Right.
But Dart does stare down sometimes. He's a little bit slow. He's a rookie. These are things to be expected. It's not us kicking him. It's just things to be expected from Jaxson Dart. I'm sure he's the first person who would admit that he is a little bit slow with his processing at this moment and really trusting what he sees. There's the one play where the backside dig came open. He's looking at the underneath drag, and all the linebackers are on the drag. But by the time he notices that dig is open and it's outside leveraged cornerback on Darius Slayton, Demario Davis, the savvy veteran who's like 36 years old, starts to sink underneath. And I'm glad Dart, and this is maybe a credit to Dart, I'm glad Dart understood, like, I can't throw that football right now because that linebacker's there. Because I'm sure there are a lot of young quarterbacks who would say, no, let me throw that because I see that there's an outside leveraged cornerback on Darius Slayton. Then no, you have to be wary of those underneath defenders. So there might be also some maturity that you can extract from some of the frustrating plays that we're seeing on film from Jaxson Dart. Just hasn't all come together quite yet.
Yeah, and that was on the 1st and 10 play where he fumbled the football, which that's a big problem in this game too. It just, not only did the Giants have all these, slew of miscues, a lot of them came in really bad spots. 1st and 10 is a really bad time to fumble a football. And that was twice, I believe, in the game. 2 of their fumbles were on 1st down, or maybe one was on 2nd short. I can't remember fully. In addition to the Slayton drop you talked about, even the flea flicker, like, yes, it was a little bit late of a pitch. And I know a lot of people think like the guard was walked back. I kind of felt like Dart had enough ample space to step into the throw. He just didn't. He just kind of doesn't always marry his feet to his throwing process in my mind, or his mechanics. And I think that's clear. You mentioned that a game ago after his first action. And since you did, it's been on my radar. I've been watching the tape, and I feel like when I'm watching the tape, I should say, and I feel like the footwork has a long way to go with Jaxson Dart. I kind of juxtaposed it in the deep throws he threw this game, the 2 to Hyatt, the 2 to Slayton, versus the cut up I did last year of Joe Burrow. And it's just totally night and day watching the two from a footwork and a base standpoint. And I think that's something that obviously he will improve as he goes on, right? He has to drive more from his core to get more drive on the ball, use his core to get more drive on the ball, do all of the things that we've discussed and marry the footwork. But, even so, on that throw that was underthrown on the flea flicker, I feel like Slayton also has to do a better job of drawing PI there, man. Like, yeah, it's underthrown, but like work your way back to the ball and do the thing that all the good veteran receivers do, draw the PI. Watching that playback, Nick, on the field side, it's crazy how good of a call it was by Kafka. Slayton's just running wide open from the start of the snap. The safety completely bites down. The fact that the Giants were able to get nothing out of that, not even a PI, is just insane to me. So yeah, it was just a slew of a lot of miscues that would have changed this game. Even like for me, like, you let the quarter run down. You have 30 seconds on the play clock going into the going into the 4th quarter after a 1st down run at 2nd and 7. And all you do coming out of that is a run to Scadaboo, and that's the one he fumbles on. It's like, why'd you let it run down if that's what you're going to do? The lack of urgency I still felt, in my mind at least, was apparent watching this football team, and that's a Daboll problem for me.
I would agree with your overall assessment. With the Scadaboo play in particular, I didn't necessarily feel it. It's more so just after that 3rd drive where you had the drop from Darius Slayton to start. You had the Devin Singletary drop, which was another play that I think we need to acknowledge more because it really just stymied that drive. It was just run city.
Yeah.
And Brennan Staley, he played a lot of soft and off coverage, but we also understand that the Giants were up 14-3. They had all the momentum in the world, and they were just trying to establish that running game and keep it going and just like hold on to that lead instead of maybe dictating a bit more. And I get it. You're on the road. You have a rookie quarterback. It's loud in that building. But this is something that has been consistent, as you brought up in yesterday's show with Brian Daboll. A lot of the times he coaches not to lose. And when you do that and you're a bad football team, you just find ways to lose instead of dictating to the defense.
That's a great point. Yeah, you can only do that when you're a good football team that can, like, a Patriots type, Vrabel type team or something like that, who played a little bit conservative, I thought, last night, but then could rely on their quarterback to drive them down at the end of the game, despite having a 20-10 lead and blowing it. They could rely on that last final drive. Giants don't have that yet. Any real reliance on the players, in my mind, at least, or that narrowing the margin of error.
But conversely, I appreciate the run approach because it led to the flea flicker specifically on that fourth drive, right? So you set it up.
By the way.
Yes, you set it up, you set it up, you set it up, and then you hit the flea flicker, and we saw how it worked to perfection. So from that perspective, yes, but then throughout the rest of the game, it was a very, very run heavy approach. Just let's try to keep this game. We're on the road. We want to control the clock, and I get that.
A lot of bubble screens too. The receivers, when they were actually throwing the ball, those free access plays, like that.
Those are just RPO tags that they were trying. And look, they were throwing off leverage, like into off leveraged defense.
But the Saints were dialed into that, and they were driving on it.
It also just seems like the Giants never blocked that up well.
They never blocked that up well.
It's an execution thing as well.
Maybe
with the Giant players.
There were one time where the Saints safety just seemed dialed in on it, and he just drove right down on it. Also, they tried a screen where, once again, as you've mentioned throughout this regular season, just timing of the screens is just so bad. GVR just doesn't get out there in time, and it screws up the whole play. Still got 7 yards on that play. But even on like some of the other, like the Slayton fumble, which was just before the half, like, fine play. He got it to Slayton. Slayton caught the ball in traffic and then tried to maximize the yards and almost squeezed through those two tacklers. And then obviously in doing so fumbled. But if you look on the field side of that play, there's just so much space to work with. If he had done the same thing and just hit that underneath route to the outside boundary receiver on the field side, that might have been like plant your foot and go for like a massive gain potentially on that play. And there just were a lot of plays that I saw on the tape, Nick, where the field side was way out leverage from a players. Like the defense had way more players on the other side of the field to the play side, and just were dialed into what they want to do, the Giants, which is RPO tags, like you said, get the ball out fast, a lot of quick game, and a lot of stuff designed to the play side. And that's fine, and it worked against the Chargers to some extent, but
the boundary side, so the short side of the field, which is something that we saw and chastised Daniel Jones for, because Daniel Jones wouldn't really look to the field side. Now in preseason, we saw Jaxson Dart hit a couple of those field side throws, but in the regular season, we haven't seen too much of that. It has been, let's look to the play side, which is the front side, which is typically designed in this offense to that boundary side, the short side of the field. And
maybe it's an offensive problem, right? Like maybe it's a Daboll's issue. I mean,
I'm sure it is, but if Daboll trusted his quarterback to make those throws and those reads, I think he would. I mean, again, this is me kind of taking liberties here, but I would have to imagine that he would like to unlock that area of the offense. Maybe he doesn't trust Dart quite yet to do so. But again, we haven't really seen him. We haven't seen a quarterback in his system work that consistently either.
Yeah. Right. And that may be a Daboll thing. It may not be a Jones and whatever thing. And also, there were just a few plays where I feel like they could have gotten to the backs. Like there was a backside dig that Wandale ran that he would have been open on, but the GVR blows his block and just gets destroyed. And, Dart can't really do anything with it. And that happened multiple times. GVR and Illuminor didn't have the best games, I didn't think. Illuminor specifically in the second half. It kind of dropped my initial grade where I was like, damn, this offense line was amazing. And then as I got closer into the second half, I was like, all right, it was a good game by the pass protection, but there were still some miscues by those two specifically.
I'll be real with you guys. Selecting underwear is a burden of responsibility. This cloth, this material, it lives so close in proximity to the most personal areas of our lives. And that's why you need to find underwear that actually fits well, that is comfortable, that treats you with the respect that you deserve. And that's exactly how I felt when I discovered Skims. My personal favorite of Skims is the cotton 5-inch boxer brief. I've tried every boxer brief in the game, but this one finally nails it. They hit right on the thigh and actually stay there. No riding up, no bagging out, no awkward 5 p.m. wedgie that you need to adjust in front of a subway full of people. The fabric feels soft but durable, and it keeps its shape. Bottom line, I feel comfortable, I feel confident, and I don't have to think about my underwear all day. That's a win. If you've been sleeping on Skims Men, it's time to check them out. Shop Skims Men's at skims.com and let them know we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and pick our show in the drop-down menu that follows. Yeah, and the Giants get called for holdings, actually, too.
Right.
Yeah. And again, don't want to be that sourpuss fan. It's not really what this podcast is about, but holy shit, dude. There's got to be some yellow laundry thrown on Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Brian Burns. It's getting absolutely ridiculous.
I charted. I'm probably going to do a video on it tomorrow, but there were 5 times where Carter was held. usually around the neck. One time they tried to chip and just like got away with just allowing like the tight end Jaxson got away with just kind of like hooking him. And it's bad because like Rattler ends up rolling to the right side. And if he had free access, Carter, and wasn't like hooked around the neck, he would have never got that throw off. And it was like a 12-yard gain to Olave. There were a few times where it actually resulted in a good play for the Saints that should have never happened. If either A, they weren't holding and the defender was allowed to get there, or they threw the flag for the hold. And I'm not blaming the game on that, but it's just crazy to watch.
No, absolutely. And if we're going to talk about the Giants' overall approach in this football game, Dan, I mean, there was no bones about it, bro. 12 personnel. That's what we're rolling out there. There was a lot of 12 personnel, which you're not going to find me complaining about since Daniel Bellinger is that second tight end. And I don't really know what wide receiver I want to play. I don't really know what wide receiver I want to see out there right now on the New York Giants with Malik Neighbors. Like I like Wan'Dale for his role. Darius Slayton, I think he's respectable, even though it's not popular to say that right now, but it's safe to say Darius Slayton is, if he's your wide receiver one, that's not a great roster. That's not what you want.
They signed a lot of those first reads for Slayton before he got hurt too.
Yeah, I know. And, he had a couple.
Who that's going to be for if Slayton doesn't play this week.
And I don't know how he's going to. Like, look, I'm not a doctor, but he hurt his hamstring. He left the game. So you're looking at Wan'Dale Robinson, Bo Collins, and Jalen Hyatt. And
like, who's running those outside boundary routes? Like, it's not Wan'Dale. So is it just Hyatt who's going to be that read?
I can't imagine. Like,
is it Collins?
It's going to be little Jordan Humphrey. You're going to have to call up. Yeah, no, it's
insane. It's really insane.
It's wild, man. It's a wild situation the Giants are finding themselves in, and the entire nation gets to watch them. Yeah, and that's something that I feel like we've been saying for the last 3 years. Like the entire nation gets to watch them, and they're in this crazy predicament somehow yet again, and we have to sit there and analyze this travesty. But anyways, a lot of 12 personnel. I felt like the Giants were generating some push up front whenever Brandon Staley, if he was in cover 3, if he was in middle of the field open, they were doing well with the run blocking up front. And then the Saints adjusted a little bit. And whenever the Giants tried to run out of shotgun, they slanted hard towards the running back's path. Like whatever the running back was offset to Jaxson Dart's side. Say if the running back was on Jaxson Dart's right, the defense would slant into the direction of where that running back was going through the mesh point, and then just have somebody contain Jaxson Dart if it was a zone read. The Giants didn't really have as much success on the deck after they started to do that, and just kind of created traffic jams up front for the offense to deal with. And the Giants didn't really get too much going on the ground after that. But yeah, man, it's overall though, this is similar concepts that we've seen for a while from Mike Kafka. A lot of switch releases, a lot of post wheel routes that aren't really thrown at all that often, a lot of orbit motions. I mean, I felt like there were the red zone plays. We'll go over them. They had some good, well-designed red zone plays to Theo Johnson out of that 12 personnel package to Daniel Bellinger. We saw the return of the fullback leak play, which is something that we saw in week 17 back in 2022 against the Indianapolis Colts. Remember with Daniel Bellinger going up the sideline and everything? That almost scored a touchdown. But you're still not seeing a lot of like inventiveness. This is all shit we've seen for a while, Dan. This is stuff that we saw in 2022 just being reintroduced. And like,
maybe it's because he's, they don't want to put a lot on his plate.
I do think it is that. But again, we do make a lot of, and again, this could be misconstrued, or maybe it is an excuse, but I also just think it's something that we have to remember, that this is a rookie quarterback. So you're going to see the most rudimentary install portions of this playbook for Mike Kafka and Brian Daboll. But you do want to see a little bit more flavor, man, when you watch all of these other offenses and these other, like how many times do I got to see this 3-level stack sail concept that never is completed? Never is completed. Never once.
It really is never completed somehow, but it is a concept that worked a lot for Dart at Ole Miss. So I'm sure that's why they're running it so much with Dart.
I mean, we saw it with Jones too, and it wasn't really completed other than the flat. So it's you want to see more flavor. You want to see more flavor from Shane Bowen for sure. We'll talk about that on the defensive side of the football, but on offense too, man. But you are a little hamstrung by having a rookie quarterback, and your execution is poor, and you turn the football over 5 times, and I don't trust the ooperation from the top down. So there's just a lot of issues with this team if you have not picked that up already.
And it does always seem, Nick, like we get to this point of the season where we're 1-4, likely out of the playoff hunt in this type of cycle we've been in for a while now. And there's always just enough excuses to go around for why we may not see stuff like this, like creativity from the coaches or a different flavor or something. It's always done. Now the receivers are injured. Now the O-line's injured. Can't do this. Now the quarterback's injured. Can't do this. But like, I can't imagine the Giants are the only team who have been in this injury cycle for all these years. And there are other coaches who have figured out ways to get out of it.
Of course. Adaptive coaches, right? Like, look, there's a reason why we didn't want to bring back this regime, Dan. We've went over it several times since they have returned, and especially since the Giants have struggled so significantly in the 2025 season. It's one of those things now at this point, we just got to loosen up the tourniquet, let this shit bleed out and move on, man, because it's not working. It's not working. Yeah. You can make the excuses until the cows come home. It doesn't matter, man, because how many times are we going to have, this is the definition of insanity at this point with this regime. Since 2022, I get it. He was coach of the year in 2022. That was a long time ago. All right. That was a long time ago. How many other people need to lose their jobs, get kicked out of town before we do start to look at this root issue that we also have here? And I think it's much broader than just Daboll, as you have articulated over the last several weeks and even going back to last season. Right. But it's just frustrating, man. It's just frustrating. And now we have to play the Eagles. We had to play the Eagles on Thursday Night Football. And the Eagles just came off this loss to the Broncos. And you like to say, yeah, the Eagles, their offense is kind of struggling. Maybe and you just know that it's just not like the Eagles are going to have their get right game against the Giants. Right. And it's just like, oh my gosh.
Right. Like, even though like on paper, this game should be a game where the Giants defense in a lot of ways, some would argue, could dominate, quite frankly, based on what the Eagles have put on tape on offense and based on what the Giants defenses look like like on the front. It's not going to happen. We know that AJ Brown will somehow have a big play, even though he hasn't done anything all year. Same thing for Devontae. Dallas Goedert will hit us. Barkley, who hasn't had one good like long run all year, will hit a long run, because we know this will happen, because either A, the defense will get tired out, or B, it'll be that one big play that they seem to give up. But the reality is, like, you can't argue with the results, right? The Giants have lost 15 of their last 17 football games or something crazy like that. That's an insane number that like really encapsulates how incompetent they've been as a franchise and as a regime. Like, no matter what your injury situation is, you should never be that bad. And then on the flip side, the Saints have only won 2 of their last 15 games, and both came against the Giants. So it's just like, it just shows you like a little bit of like what's going on here from a losing standpoint. And it's, Mara said, all right, we'll give him another chance. It wasn't really based on merit. It was just based on whatever factors, continuity, whatever it may be. So
based on continuity, which the Giants recently, in recent memory, they've made so many decisions that have not worked out for them based on continuity. I like it. I respect the idea of it, but you brought back Jason Garrett because of continuity. We brought back Shane Bowen because of continuity, and because you're not finding another defensive coordinator worth his salt to come in here with this lame duck coaching staff. But it doesn't seem like every time the Giants make these continuity decisions, it ever works out for the Giants. It's always just they're fired the next season. But that's what happens when you're an inept organization.
Yep.
Get into some plays, buddy.
Yeah, let's get into some plays.
Yes. All righty, guys. We have some plays here on offense. Love to go over them with you. So the first one is a 2nd and 5, 13-11 in the first quarter. So we're on the first drive for the New York Giants offense. I like the fast 3, right? We talk a lot about it, but this is the same concept out of a different formation. So I like the alteration that Mike Kafka and Brian Daboll did. It's the snag concept. It's a snag with the wheel. You have the fast 3. You're going to wheel Wan'Dale Robinson around Darius Slayton, expand those conflict defenders outward because you have Cam Scadaboo, and then you're just going to sit Darius Slayton. Now, Jaxson Dart did not throw to that, but that was the field side concept. It's a snag concept. It's a spacing concept. We've seen this with the wheel route tagged on it. And now he is going to go towards the double Y set. You're going to have 2 tight ends on the line of scrimmage to the boundary, and you're going to get a vert from Theo Johnson and then a Y cross from Daniel Bellinger. And Jaxson Dart delivers a 14-yard pass to Daniel Bellinger. And this is the second play of the game. Again, simple concepts, nothing too exotic, but you're delivering them out of different formations. Last week, it was out of that boundary stack that we saw the snag. This one is a field side, not a stack. You have the number 1 receiver in a plus split. You have the number 2 splitting the numbers and the hash, and then you have a fast 3 to just change up the equation for the defense. So I did like this play design.
Yep. Good ball placement. Good timing.
Absolutely. And we're going to get to a 3rd and 2 here in a little bit. But yeah, Daniel Bellinger presents his hands. Let's see how Daniel Bellinger gets open here. Just crosses the face of 20. Is that Pete Warner? Look at the footwork by DB. Bop, bop, bop. Quick hands at the top of the break.
Ball's right on him too.
Ball is right on him. Good job, Jaxson Dart. Giants offense started hot.
Yeah, they did.
And now here is that snag spacing concept again, only it's different. See, the last one had a wheel, but it just had the quick little sit with the expanding horizontally. This one is a little bit different. Now you're going to have the expansion horizontally with Cam Scadaboo, and then you're going to have Daniel Bellinger trying to clear out and sit behind, like an OTB behind Demario Davis, and watch how quick the Saints defense is coming downhill on Wan'Dale Robinson. Now the Giants, I would say this is defensive pass interference. He does get early. But you can also see, and the reason why I wanted to highlight this, the Saints knew this shit was coming, dude. They were fully aware, like this is something we saw a lot last week on tape, 3 separate times, and it worked out for the New York Giants. So whenever they sit like this and they present this type of expand the running back outward and then just bring someone right underneath on a quick 3rd and 2, we're going to drive through that catch point and we're going to break it up. And that's exactly what happened. You could see the curl flat defender expand with Cam Scadaboo, and then you see the player coming from depth just driving right through Wan'Dale Robinson. He just gets there a tad early. But the Saints defense were on top of what the Giants offense was attempting to do there. It worked out for the Giants, though. And also, just from this perspective, Dan, look at Andrew Thomas. Just, so smooth, man.
Yep.
Just a dancing bear. Alrighty.
He's given up 0 pressures in 3 games so far.
Is it really that?
Yep.
That's crazy. Did he give up well, he wouldn't be credited for because I think it was Jaxson
the grounding. Yeah. I mean, the roughing the passer. I feel like that wasn't on him.
Yeah. Boom, boom. Oh man, I love watching him play football. All right, quarter 1, 1st and 10. Fullback leak to Daniel Bellinger. Love this play because Wan'Dale Robinson's post route is going to occupy that safety. And then Daniel Bellinger sells it well and expands outside the numbers. Dart throws it to the back shoulder, allowing Daniel Bellinger to catch it, spin, and possibly get to the pylon, but he does not. He fails to. Luckily, he held on to the football long enough because it didn't end up coming out. But this is another well-designed play. It's something that we saw back in 2022.
Yep.
I'm not sure if it was tagged with this type of orbit motion because you have an I formation with an orbit motion from Darius Slayton. You go into the mesh or you go into the play action fake with Devin Singletary, and then you fake it to Darius Slayton. Just a lot of eye candy for everyone, all the defenders to be watching. And then Daniel Bellinger just sinks right to where he needs to be. Well designed, well executed.
Yeah. Excellent job here too from the Giants offensive line on this.
Yeah. No, they're holding up. Holding up.
Exception of GVR, obviously.
I mean, that was so fine, though.
It wasn't bad, but.
Now here's the touchdown to Theo Johnson. This is another well-designed play in the red zone. It's like the Giants really focus on their red zone woes. Now they just need to focus on ball security. Because you have
a bad defense, too.
They did, yes. 13 person. I just want to see them take advantage of it, dude.
They're
a bad team. So they can play a high school team as long as they're taking advantage of it. And it's not just through brute force. I'm going to be happy because this is also good schematics in X's and O's.
Yeah.
So 13 personnel, you're going to expand Daniel Bellinger. You go into play action. And then as Daniel Bellinger runs the flat, you release Darius Slayton wide and outward. So you're horizontally stretching all of these defenders in the second level. And then nobody even accounts for Theo Johnson. Theo Johnson just runs right past all of them because they're worried about the run. Once Theo Johnson clears them, nobody's even paying attention to him because Daniel Bellinger is also going to flat. So it's just a well-designed play and nobody even looks at Theo Johnson. Touchdown, Giants. See how they hold up front. Soft hands. Love it. Now we're going to have a 2nd and 10, 20-yard rush by Jaxson Dart. Great protection. You're going to see the post wheel at the bottom of the screen. You have just wide open space because Daniel Bellinger's drag route removes a defender from the middle of the field. So you have the motion, 12 personnel again. Theo Johnson on the wheel, Darius Slayton on the post. You have an out route as well. So you're just drawing all the defenders away to the field side. And Dart does a good job just maneuvering the pocket. Daniel Bellinger drags the middle, hook defender away and match. Nothing but green grass. Take it.
Yeah, I thought this is a good example of what Jaxson Dart does offer already, which is a pretty great feel for the pocket for a rookie and how to manipulate it, how to reset it, how to find space within it.
Yeah, pick up just chunk yardage. 12 personnel, deep concepts out of 12 personnel. It's something we saw all game. Here's a 1st and 10, first play of the second quarter. And this is the play I was mentioning a little bit earlier. if you look, you have a 3-by-1 set. Running back is towards the one receiver side, and the one receiver is Jalen Hyatt. Jalen Hyatt's going to release inside, takes that one step outward, releases inward. And look, it's a cover 2 defense. If the ball comes out here, puts it right on Jalen Hyatt, that could be a play, Dan. The seas are parting and nobody is with Hyatt because of the traffic created from Cam Scadaboo's route. Giants rely a lot on the running back creating traffic or putting defenders in conflict. And that's exactly what happens here. This is a good job by Jalen Hyatt to release inside to pick Kool-Aid McKinstry against Carl Granderson, who is responsible for Cam Scadaboo. It's just Jaxson Dart does not throw the football, but you can see, man, there was a step there, and that safety up to the top of the screen opens initially towards Theo Johnson. So he's not even facing Jalen Hyatt.
Right.
And you can see Dart's eyes are in that direction. So I'm not 100% sure why he doesn't pull the trigger there. Because that safety, the boundary safety is expanding and gaining depth towards the numbers to account and match Scadaboo. And the safety on the other end is paying attention to Theo Johnson. And these are some of the this is some of the reasons why I appreciate the 12 personnel outlook, because you get mismatches like Carl Granderson against freaking Cam Scadaboo if you want to run a simulated pressure, which is exactly what happens. You can see Granderson step off. That's a mismatch. And then Dart steps up and he does that Mahomes type thing where he throws at the line of scrimmage and connects with Darius Slayton for a solid game. But I think there was some meat left on the bone here, Dan.
Yeah, great point.
All right. Watch it from the end zone angle. Well picked up. Felt like JMS did really well when it came to bitching. I should stop cussing. Taking care of Pete Warner. There was a few different times where the Saints ran simulated pressures and they tried to get interior penetration on Jaxson Dart, and John Michael Schmitz was right there every time to throw Pete Warner to the deck.
So this is probably his best game as a Giant, honestly.
It might have been. He was impressive in this one.
At least here's the rookie season.
Yeah. Here is the 3rd and 8, 11 personnel backside 1 to Theo Johnson. You have a 3-by-1 set. And this is just good job by Jaxson Dart. You know, the throw was a little bit too inside. I'm not sure if he was worried about the safety coming over or the underneath defender, but Theo Johnson does a good job making a contested catch for a touchdown. Just squeeze the football into a window where you could see this looks like it could be a quarters look or something, but they buzz the weak side defender. What I mean by weak side is away from the 3 receiver side to the boundary, even though it's towards the tight end side in 11 personnel. But you can see he buzzes down to match Cam Scadaboo again. And then Theo Johnson does a good job bending right around him against an outside leveraged cornerback in cover 3. And Dart is already delivering the football right as Theo Johnson enters that break. And it's caught. Touchdown. Again, another good, well-designed red zone play. Going towards the other side, though, right? Going towards Theo Johnson's side, not the receiver side, but it was still the boundary side.
Yep. And excellent job by Theo Johnson adjusting to the ball in the air and then coming down with the catch.
Yes,
I see a lot of Giants receivers miss catches like this.
I agree. Because that's
away from his frame, extends, makes the hands catch, and then is able to secure it through the contact.
100%. And here's the deep post drop by Darius Slayton. I don't know how Jaxson Dart got this football there, especially through contact.
Yeah.
Because number 58 hits him. Oh, I guess he hits him a little late, but this is the deep post, man. Like a lot of deep concepts dialed up in this game.
Yeah.
A lot of deep concepts. And there's 2 guys there, and this ball hits Darius Slayton in the hands, and he just can't secure it, unfortunately. It's a scissors concept. So you have a deep post and a deep flag. So deep corner, right? And look, like you probably see it better from the other view, but that ball lands right basically where it needs to be. And you got to catch that. You know, it sucks. Here's the flea flicker. Speaking of balls not getting to where they need to be, this is severely underthrown. Darius Slayton needs to turn around. And
yeah, a lot of people said he couldn't step into the throw. I don't see that. Do you see that? Like, let's see where he catches it right here. I don't see how he can't step into the throw there. He could just step. Like, he has a good amount of space there.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, unless he thought Cam Scadaboo was too close to him, but Scadaboo gets out of the way.
Look at his footwork, though. That's like when you watch Burrow, it just never looks like that.
Well, yeah, he doesn't hitch into it at all when he has seemingly the pocket to do so. And
right.
It's not like, look, I'm sitting here in my chair talking about this guy playing football, but this isn't that far of a throw for an NFL quarterback.
Sure.
You know, it's far, but
it's far if you want to lead him toward the, into the end zone, which I'm surprised, I'm sure he would want to do.
Yeah. I I mean, it's over 50 yards at that point. So I don't want to amend what I said, but I've seen a lot of NFL arms make throws like that. This one just
Without
kind of
hitching. Yeah.
dies in the air. With the hitch,
Yeah.
I have to imagine he hits that. But
I think it's all footwork though. Like I honestly think when he could get bet, like if he just is able to drive force through the ground there,
yeah,
like he can make this throw. He has more than like we've seen some of the arm talent, like in that throw to Gunner in the preseason where he's off platform. Like we've seen him drive the ball at times just with his arm alone. But if you're trying to throw 40, 50 yards down the field, you can't just use your arm alone, which it just feels like a lot of times he is doing. Like that, he's falling away from the throw.
It does seem like it, man. Yeah, absolutely. Look, man, throwing a football is not just your arm, as we brought up. Like we talked a lot about Dak Prescott yesterday. You use the ground, you use your hips, you use everything to maximize your physical gifts. And it doesn't seem like Jaxson Dart fully understands that right now.
And I would have loved to see Slayton try to make it this like a pass interference if he can, like kind of just fall back into the ball. But I guess he does his best here to try to come back to it.
He does. And when I saw the ball was underthrown, I'm like, and I like Darius Slayton, but I was like, I don't know if Darius Slayton's coming down with that. Like Darius Slayton's not a great contested catch guy, right?
Right. That's not his game.
It's not his game. Now we're gonna have the Dart fumble, which is unfortunate. Well, first it's the Kim Scadaboo one. Yeah, the Scadaboo fumble first. Just got punched out. But I wanted to highlight. I don't even know if I included the Dart fumble, but we've seen it. Hopefully, if you have that play, we can get it.
I do have it. I'll get it up in the meantime. Go ahead.
90 just beats. Like the reason why this happened is Jermaine Illuminor gets beat pretty bad to the inside, and look, that's on Jermaine, but why is GVR doing the same exact thing that John Michael Schmitz is doing here? Like, what's the miscommunication? Like, they both climbed to take Pete Warner, and now that leaves Jermaine Illuminor with a 4-eye shade to block.
True, good point.
To the inside. Like, that doesn't seem like it's fair to Jermaine Illuminor, and that's exactly Brian Brzee is the player who punches it out of Cam Scadaboo's hand.
Good point.
And you could see prior to that, they're all setting their protection. And I see that GVR points at 56. Maybe he thought 56 was, and you can see him look there. He thought 56 was blitzing there, possibly. And that's what led to this. I don't know if miscommunication is the right word, but that's what led to this blocking approach. That's probably what I would say. But it's unfortunate because Jermaine
you don't need double team on number 20. Yeah, you don't need a double team on 20 there.
If there's anything that we saw all game, it was that John Michael Schmitz owned Pete Warner in this game. He's a linebacker. He's like 230 pounds, John Michael Schmitz pushing 300, but very unfortunate. Don't need to watch this run back, but
this game, it killed the game, right? I mean,
it did. It murdered it, it murdered it. And here we have the first interception by Jaxson Dart. I'm fine with this interception. It's 4th and 6. Like he's trying to make a play, he's trying to
he should probably get it out to Bo Collins, but he just doesn't seem for whatever reason.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, Bo Collins underneath with 5 yards of separation. Demario Davis has a slight angle, but Demario Davis is a 36-year-old linebacker. Yeah. So get it to the 22-year-old UDFA and have him make a play. But it doesn't seem like Jaxson Dart trusted that all that much. Maybe he was waiting to see if Theo Johnson was going to come open. Great coverage, I felt like, on the back end by that safety in the middle of the field, Jonas Sanker, to just sink right on the move. And then good job by Jalen Hyatt to break his route off and extend the play enough to give Jaxson Dart an option. It ends up getting intercepted by Kool-Aid McKinstry, though. I was watching Hyatt run a few routes, and I was like, oh, man, he it's not like he looks slow, That was his one calling card.
Right.
I just don't know if he can catch the football and get open enough. It's another thing that's frustrating about this team. Here we have the second interception. Again, I don't blame Jaxson Dart for this. A 2nd and 20, and Bo Collins just stops his freaking route. I don't know what he's doing. He gets pressed, and it's like when Madden, Dan, when you're user and you take control of the wide receiver and you didn't realize that you did that and your wide receiver just stops. That's exactly what happened to Bo Collins. Just stops. I don't
really know why though.
Neither do I. But it goes on Jaxson Dart's resume, unfortunately, as a 2 interception game when it's like that's kind of dumb, but is what it is. Here, let's go over that Dart fumble.
Yep.
All right, we'll bring that up again. We're gonna have Jaxson Dart. I formation, drop back. Now you see that dig on the backside come open, right? But this is what the play that Dan and I were talking about. This is it would be a field side dig from a plus split alignment. So it's a far throw. It looks like Dart looks in that direction, and as he does, Demario Davis does a great job sinking underneath Darius Slayton. And I think that that is exactly what was going through the head of Jaxson Dart. But this is a concept where you have you have the clear out. It's just dagger. It's a simple dagger concept to the field side. You clear out number 2, and you sink in a dig route underneath the safety, and you try to hold those linebackers in place. But
I will say this, Nick, while I respect, of course, your analysis on this and, the decision by Dart to some extent, these are the type of windows that I did knock Jones for not throwing. 1, so I want to be consistent with that. And 2, I watched the entire tape of last night's New England Patriots game against the Bills, and May hit windows to Hunter Henry like this that were tighter than this one by a considerable margin.
Yeah.
So if you have the ability to drive this throw, which I think Dart does, I would have loved to see him confidently try to drive it, to be honest. But you're right; it has to come early, and it's still a far hash throw.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything you just said. I'm just saying this is what Dart's.
By the time he sees it, I see what you're saying. By the time he sees it, it's too late. Yep.
There's still a reluctance there. Yeah, it's his second game. Absolutely, and these are the exact plays that we would chastise rightfully Daniel Jones for. So you want to see Jaxson Dart overcome that. The difference being Daniel Jones is a 6-year starter, and this is a guy starting his second game. But he has space here, and you're right, man. Like Drake May, dude. I feel like we could talk about Drake May all the freaking time, dude. And it's again, to use this word, it's frustrating because I watch him just layer throws over those underneath defenders and put it in a place where the tight end can just like leap, catch it, and fall. And it's fun. And it's just like no one takes this brutal hit.
You got to be able to drive the throw to even have that opportunity. It's his velocity that allows for it.
And it's beyond the velocity though, too, man. Like the velocity definitely helps, but it's just an overall understanding of space and touch and just being able to just loft it in. It really is just like a touch thing and velocity, of course.
He drives it too. You could see the ball spinning when you watch it.
It's just like he understands how to throw a football. He does. And Dart
was obvious to us on tape.
It was obvious, dude.
There's no player I ever had bigger conviction on in my life, so it's bittersweet to watch this, but I am happy for him having this much success.
Same, man. It sucks, but like it doesn't suck for him. It sucks that he's not a New York Giant right now.
But Dart could get there potentially, not there obviously, but he can become a good quarterback. I don't want to say he can get there personally. I don't think he has a Drake May ceiling, but he can become a good quarterback and win in other ways that May doesn't win in because he has different aspects of his game that may be better than May, right? And we don't know that yet. Pocket presence, mocks, and things like that. He's a better runner. It looks like potentially than May, or at least as good a runner. So there are still aspects, but one thing I want Dart to really work on this offseason is just footwork, marrying his footwork to his upper body mechanics and just finding a way to get more drive on the ball. I don't feel like even watching his Ole Miss tape, there's a lot of drive all the time on the throws.
And I think a lot of that can come with just understanding how to maximize your mechanics and marry that footwork to your throwing motion and driving through the ground and all of those things. All those weird quirks that I don't want to say make fun of Dak Prescott for, but the hip stuff, like there's a reason
it works. Dak Prescott literally gained arm strength and drive throughout his career by using, and he's not the only one. Josh Allen's a much better thrower of the football since he became more of a body thrower. There's a reason in golf they say I hate to bring it up, Nick, but there's a reason in golf they knock every single instructor you ever go to is going to knock all the arm swingers. They want you to keep your arms connected to your body and use your core and your body to swing a golf club. It's the same thing with throwing. You have to use your core and body to maximize your drive.
All right, one's in the chat for Dan using a golf reference perfectly to describe what we're talking about from a football perspective. One's in the chat if you think
finally did it. I finally
lead analysis by Dan Schneider.
I finally found a real reason to reference golf on this podcast. But I think he is a lot of an arm thrower right now, and it helps at times. Like the throw he made to Scadaboo when the edge guy had him dead to rights. That play is dead. I've seen that play the Giants for 10 years with Eli and Jones, and it was dead. But Dart had the ability to get the ball around with his arm and his ability to change his arm slot, and Scadaboo turned into a 14-yard gain. We didn't have that one up there. I could show. Let's throw that one real quick. Let's throw that one quick because this was a good play by him. Let me see if I have it. Arm angle. So we'll throw this one up. It's the second one there. Like this is a good example of him using all arm to make a play. And this plays dead to rights for the most part, but he finds a way to get it out there, and it turns it into a negative play or an incompletion into a 14-yard play. But just consistently from the pocket when he's trying to win within the pocket on the plays that we just went over, Nick, I would like to see him become more of a body thrower and more of a natural use the force of the ground, drive the ball thrower.
100%. You look, he's he's unorthodox with his
Yeah.
throwing motion with his feet, and there's elements of that to where it looks really cool. But as we saw with the flea flicker and some of the other plays, it's there are also drawbacks to that. Whereas like Daniel Jones was a very mechanical thrower of the football, Jaxson Dart is not mechanical at all, and there are pros and cons to that.
Sure. Great analysis. All right. Anything else on this game before we get to superlatives that you wanted to touch on?
No, man, I think the Giants outplayed the Saints, and they just shot themselves in the foot. They just shot themselves directly in the freaking foot.
They're only before the game got out of hand and they were in like pass mode. The only times they got stopped were when they stopped themselves by punting it on 4th and 2, which again, if you're going to go for a flea flicker and you're going to miss a flea flicker, but your intention was not to go for it on 4th and 2 from the 48, to me, you're an absolute coward. And I don't care what the score of the game is. And it wasn't even, it's proven that we're never at a point where we shouldn't be keeping our pass foot on the damn, I'm going to try not to curse. You don't have to bleep another thing. We're never at the point where we're keeping our foot on the damn pedal. I'm so angry I can't even get it out, Nick. But my point is, I don't care what the score is. Keep putting your foot on their throat. They showed no signs of being able to stop short yardage plays from the Giants at any point. But anyway, and then
I
the other
100% agree with that, by the way.
Yeah.
Like this whole, and we'll use this word again, this whole pusillanimous approach by Brian Daboll in these situations where you're already dictating, and then you take like, oh, well, it's 3rd and 2. If we don't connect here, you know what? We'll just go for it. And then you just go, no, you know what? We'll punt it back.
We're up 14-3. We'll punt it. And it's the same thing earlier in the game. They had a 4th and 3 or 4th and 4 to 46, and they punted that as well. Just that's the only time the Giants really got stopped until the game was a 2-score game. They went into that like pass mode. But their actual bait, like what they tried to do offensively, was actually working, with the exception of them fumbling the football 3 times and punting it in spots where you didn't have to punt. In my mind, at least. So that's what the game was, and they lost the game because they could easily be 2-3 right now.
Before we get into superlatives, since this is a short week, what are the Giants going to do at receiver, bro? Like what's going to happen here without Malik?
Good question.
Without
if Slayton
Darius
doesn't play, which I think we both think he says he's going to play, but I don't think he will.
Even with Darius Slayton, this is the weakest wide receiver core, I would say, by far in the NFL, right? Like what wide receiver core is as inept as the New York Giants right now? And I hate to use that word because I do have respect for Darius Slayton and Wan'Dale Robinson as players, but neither of them are even close.
I have more respect for Slayton as a player. I think Slayton at least can run around. I don't like Wan'Dale.
Wan'Dale for his role again. Like the word we described for the Wan'Dale Robinson pick was peculiar, and that was because Kadarius Toney was on the roster at the time. But even without the idea of Kadarius Toney in our minds, this is a player that, like, again, Khalil Shakir is the player that I mentioned, like a slot type of player. And I would say Shakir is a much more well-rounded player than a Wan'Dale Robinson, who is kind of a gadgety type of receiver. And that is the second receiver on this roster with Darius Slayton that you have any maybe confidence in. And that is being kind, if I'm going to be frank here. So with Wan'Dale and Darius, there's nobody else. What are the Giants going to do? Like they need to figure out what the hell they're doing here and maybe pluck somebody off a practice squad. But even then, you're not going to learn the playbook. You have to go and get people who are familiar with the New York Giants,
right,
with Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka, to bring in here and have a quick turnaround, possibly after this Thursday night football game. So they have the extended week to learn the playbook and everything. But I mean, bringing them in now might help as well to prepare for that extended week, the Denver game and the second Philadelphia game. Holy crap, dude. This is a bad situation.
It's a really bad situation. I don't even know if there is time enough to get new players in. I mean, I thought I was just looking it up while you were talking. I thought I had the clip, the one I was referencing earlier, where if GVR doesn't blow the block, I'm hopeful that Dart would come off the boundary side and back to the backside dig where Wan'Dale was coming open. Even on that play, dude, I went over and I thought I had it cut up, but I guess I don't have it in here, or I'm not searching the right thing. The way Wan'Dale runs that route, he rounds the route. He rounds the dig. It's either a deep over or a dig. He rounds it out. And like I watch Odell Beckham run that same route 14, 15 times with the Ravens, because I just did that cut up. He doesn't run that route the same way. He uses his feet to create separation, and he creates this angle for himself that makes it really difficult for the defensive back to cut that route off. And it's still, Wan'Dale wins the route because he had so much space in the corner, was an outside leverage. But like, that's not the point. The point is, like, I don't really feel like Wan'Dale is a true complete route runner, in my personal opinion. I think he can run verticals. And like
so either.
And so,
I think
like,
he's good on like the quick pivots and things underneath.
Yes. Yeah. Whip routes and verticals. I think he can run those fine for you. But that's not a complete role, and it's not really a role that I have like full respect for personally. it's fine in the 4th or 5th round or whatever as like part of your gadget player. But like Slayton's the only one who I think runs the full route tree for them. And it's why he was designed to get all these reads in this game, these first reads. And if he's out in this game, I just don't simply know who will be doing that role. It might be Hyatt, but he can't do it. Like, it's hard to say like what the Giants will even do. They're going to run a lot of 12.
Bo Collins, I have to imagine.
But I hate watching this guy. I'm not a Bo Collins guy.
I know. So I want to be patient with it, and I know the Giants like him. I know the Giants. I know the Giants like him. But I agree. I mean, I don't think this is somebody who should be on our 53-man roster. But here we are in the situation that we're in. The thing is, if Darius Slayton is not there, it's Kenyon Mitchell against the Giants.
Right. That's the other thing. Kenyon Mitchell's been unreal. So we don't, I think we just have to, we're going to have to run a shit ton of 12 again and just like flick it out. Get the ball out on RPO tags and just try to grind a game out. And I hope we use the whole play clock every play basically. And Dart will run a little bit and hopefully we can shut him down on defense. I don't know any other game. Like if I was Brian Daboll, I wouldn't know what to do either with these receivers right now.
It's tough, man. That's such a like we said going into the season there were 3 players that were indispensable.
Yeah.
It was Dexter Lawrence, Andrew Thomas, and Malik Neighbors.
Yeah.
And I think we're learning, and I think I probably would have said Malik Neighbors was number 3 there. I think we're learning that Neighbors might be number 1.
I'd say 2 after Thomas to me.
I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know.
Interesting.
No. You make a solid point, actually, because Andrew Thomas, like the offensive line has played significantly better over the last 2 games with Andrew Thomas there. So you might be right, but I don't know if the Giants have anybody who can win one-on-one matchups. Not even at a consistent rate, but at like a 40% clip.
Even if Slayton's on it, it's even at like a 20% clip. Honestly, can Bo Collins and Jalen Hyatt win at like Are they winning 1 of every 5 routes?
Dude, we're talking about like, look, I like Darius Slayton, but we're talking about Darius Slayton being the guy that you need to like rise above and defeat another professional athlete who's getting paid millions of like, that's not who Darius Slayton is, you know?
And what sucks about this, Nick, is we're going to end up looking back at the end of the season. It's going to be like Dart threw for like 130 yards a game or something. And it's like, well, does Dart suck? Are we done with Dart? Like, it's like, I don't know, because how could I judge him when it's this dire? The situation.
Well, I think we could still judge Dart. Like again, like I want him to maybe rip that dig, right?
Yeah,
but
right.
Here's one question: it wasn't like the Giants were just blanketed this entire game. There were areas where I think there was some separation, but it's also not like Brennan Staley was just out there playing man coverage the entire time. There was some zone coverage, and there were some holes in those zones. I just felt like the Giants, again, it wasn't like they weren't moving the football. They were converting 3rd downs.
Yeah.
They were converting on 4th down when they decided to go for it. Not a ton on 3rd down, but they were converting. It really was just those mistakes that really hindered them. So that might cloud our judgment about this overall offense right now. But when I look at a defense that's not the New Orleans Saints,
right,
that's where I'm like, oh,
I don't know. It works against a bad defense. Will it work against
exactly? And we're talking about John Michael Schmitz being, a player that is working himself out of the doghouse that he's earned,
and now he gets Jalen Carter. That's not going to be good for him. It's going to be a really ugly game. I won't make the mistake I made last week of predicting a blowout win. Most likely, we'll see when we get to that game. Let's wrap up with some superlatives here. Your thoughts on what you saw on tape, Nick. Our thoughts on what we saw on tape. Who's your unheralded player of the game?
John Michael Schmitz.
I like it. I like that call. I was between a couple players. Singletary, again, I just feel like he's very unheralded among Giants fans. He looks good to me. You put up one of the clips where he just made something out of nothing. Good cutter. And like you said, last year before the injury, he was number 1 in forced missed tackle rate among all running backs in the NFL. I put Scadaboo in there. I know he had the fumble, but again, like I honestly feel like watching this team, dude, Scadaboo is almost their entire offense. It's Scadaboo and then Dart with some runs. And that's about all the Giants can do offensively. And a lot of these Scadaboo plays are like him creating something out of nothing as well. Or like a not so great blocked up play where he just like barrels in to create 4 more yards than he should have, or just never goes down. Like even that play I said before where Dart got that arm angle to get around the edge guy. They try to go low to tackle Scadaboo, and it's to no success. And that happens all the time. And even at the end of the play, he doesn't go down.
He's the fulcrum of the offense at the moment. And like
Without
the
a doubt.
Giants, this is one other note. The Giants did run more power, pulling the backside guard,
Yeah.
pulling the backside tackle. We saw a
Yep.
decent amount of that. It was only one puller that they were doing quite often. But this is a great juke by Devin Singletary. If you're watching on YouTube at this moment, turned what would have been like a 2-yard, 3-yard loss into a 4-yard gain. I am curious, not to cut off the superlatives, but I am curious, what will this Giants offense look like when Tyrone Tracy Jr. comes back? Because I think we're going to see more 21, 22, possibly even personnel if the dire circumstances of this wide receiver room remain, especially if Darius Slayton is out for an extended period of time.
I'm hoping we see more pony packages and get them both on the field. I saw that yesterday. What was the team that was running? I was impressed by. Oh, the Patriots are running it a little bit with Josh McDaniels before they had the injuries at the running back position, finding success in doing so. So I think, to me, when you have a receiver core that's like Bo Collins, Jalen Hyatt, and Wan'Dale Robinson, you need to get Tyrone Tracy on the field and Scadaboo at the same exact time. That's the one thing I'll criticize this coaching staff for moving forward if they don't do that, because that's the type of creative wrinkle that not only they can do, but they need to do. You got to get your best playmakers on the field, and Tracy and Scadaboo will probably be, to me at least, number 1 and number 2 in that regard.
Gotcha. All right, let's go through best throw.
Yeah, best throw was just the Slayton one that he dropped, not the flea flicker, the one before that.
Yeah. Best overall player.
Andrew Thomas.
Yes. Player we expected to see more from?
There's a few, like, there's not really anyone there's a lot of players that I don't expect to see more from at this point. So I went with Darius Slayton because it was his opportunity to be the focal point of the offense. But I think you go to Hyatt too, man, because I wasn't really expecting to see more from him, but maybe, right? Like, he's like, I had that conversation, leaked neighbors in the locker room. He said, this is your time to shine, big dog. Like, now you have your opportunity. What do you really do with his opportunity? Not much, honestly. So it was against a bad defense. So I'd have to say Hyatt here.
Yeah. I went with Slayton, but if I have to see Jalen Hyatt run a 9 route and then get contacted and flail his arms and fall as the ball is really catchable, it's like right there. Like it's not like, it's, again, easy for me to say this, but I'm not a professional wide receiver. You're a professional wide receiver. That ball is thrown towards your leverage, away from the defender, and you just like flail your arms and it hits you in the chest and you fall down looking at the ref. It's like, stop being a baby, learn how to catch the damn football in a contested situation, and try to seize the moment, because this is the moment now. You're never going to have this type of situation again where you could rise above and be the number 1 wide receiver on the team. Like that could happen for Jalen Hyatt. It's like the Giants.
He was the 3rd round pick that we traded up for, the Biletnikoff winner. This is supposed to be the time where he shines and becomes this number 1. You're right.
I know. This is the moment right now. Seize that moment. And I think the Giants might be able to do a better job designing plays for him to put him in, maybe you'll get him a rhythm. I don't think the Giants have done a good job at that. It's almost like the Giants are like, shit, we got to play this guy, right?
You're right.
I do think the Giants could put him in a better position, but you still got to come down with some of these one-on-one balls, some of these deep targets that he's earning, instead of it just being another who's he targeting? Oh, it's 13. Never mind. It's going to be incomplete. Let's seize the moment. All right. Let's avenge sevenfold this shit.
Yeah. Pass blocking grade 1 through 10.
I had an 8.9, and I know it suffered a little bit down the stretch. But the Giants, they were in such a pass mode that everybody knew they were, and some of those holding calls, like, they were holds, but it was the same thing I saw on the other side that weren't getting called.
On the other side. They were neck ringing on the other side.
Yeah. So I went with 8.9 because I think in a neutral game script and through the majority of this game, it was pretty solid. That might be a little bit too favorable though. What was your grade?
I was right there up with you. In the first half, I was even higher. I had like a 9.4, 9.5. I thought the first half was pinpoint perfect almost from a pass protection standpoint. The second half, there were issues. Well, in the first half, there was a couple GVR reps, but in the second half, there were issues on the whole right side with GVR and JAE for me. So I went down to 8.2 for that. Still good, though.
That's fair. Now, run blocking.
Yeah, run blocking, there were moments in the run game. I went with 6.7. I think, again, like slightly above average type of I know that's like a weird thing. I shouldn't have said that. We'll go 6.5 then.
No, I mean, it's not a weird thing. It's just like I
don't even know what it means. Nor care.
Young person thing. Talk to a young person about it. I went 6.
Don't know, don't care. But yeah, something in that mid-6s range, like a little bit above average. Good for the Giants. They've definitely taken a step forward in the run game. Like their whole offense right now is giving Cam Scadaboo the football and the threat of Jaxson Dart potentially keeping it, which opens up more opportunities for Cam Scadaboo. All right. Thanks again for tuning in to Big Blue Banter Podcast. This is the offensive film review. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Please leave comments. I know it's getting to that point where somehow week 5, we're already there every year. It feels like, but thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you just get to see Jaxson Dart, which you might not see if you don't have the tape or access to it. So that should hopefully be of some value to you. Otherwise, have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you soon with the defensive film review.